A masterpiece, one of the best video games of all time, setting the bar for RPGs for years to come. These quotes have been said about The Witcher 3: The Wild Hunt, and to be fair, The Witcher 3 is a great game in my opinion. This video though will take a look at the Witcher series beyond just the flagship of the franchise, and I will argue why I think The Witcher 2: Assassins of Kings is a game people should play as well. Welcome to part 1 of why I think you should play the Witcher series, where we discuss what's great about The Witcher 2. Hey Rio, why is this video in 2 parts? You've done other video game series in a single video before. Yes, I have. The reason this video is in 2 parts is because The Witcher 2 and The Witcher 3, I haven't played The Witcher 1, so can't include that, are quite different games, to the point where some argue they aren't even the same genre. To do credit to both games, I've decided to give them their own videos. The Witcher series is a trilogy developed by CD Projekt Red, a Polish gaming company also responsible for the site Good Old Games. The games are based on the book series The Witcher by Andrzej Sapkowski, and follow the character Geralt of Rivia in his adventures as a witcher. If you don't know what a witcher is, witchers are monster hunters who have undergone mutations making them more powerful, from keener senses to increased speed and strength. The first game came out in 2007, with enhancements and ports following after its positive reception. The key point that connects the 3 games was established early on in that first game and left a strong mark on players. Your choices matter. However, the first game received criticism for its repetitive battle system, making combat predictable and boring. The Witcher 2: Assassins of Kings came out in 2011 and vastly improved on the combat area while maintaining many of the details that made the first game a success. The Witcher 2 was also well received and praised, but critics pointed to a very difficult early game as a turnoff for players interested in getting into the game. Both games, like The Witcher 3, are action RPGs. What sets the first 2 games apart from the third, then, is the world and story progression. The game is divided into chapters corresponding to distinct areas. Once you have completed the main story of the area, you leave, never to return. This contrasts heavily with the open-world nature of the third game, where story progression is done more at the player's speed. The environments, at least in Witcher 2, are still large with a wide variety of side quests and exploration, but there are restrictions on both those things that don't come into play in the third game. However, it is the second game that I'll be talking about now. So let's see where the story of Geralt picks up in The Witcher 2. The Witcher 2's story begins with Geralt in a cell, being interrogated as to the events of the recent battle by Foltest, King of Temeria, against the La Valette rebels. He is being interrogated by Vernon Roach, the captain of Temeria's spy unit. There's a lot of subterfuge and politics going on, and the prologue establishes the essential elements of the story very well early on, at least in my opinion. Firstly, Geralt has amnesia from his time with the Wild Hunt and is searching for his former paramour, Yennefer. Secondly, Geralt has begun a romantic relationship with Triss Merigold, a sorceress under the employ of Foltest, like Geralt. Thirdly, the aforementioned choices have consequences mechanic comes into play early on, but sometimes the payoff happens later. And fourthly, Geralt is branded as a Kingslayer after Foltest's death at the end of the prologue, leading to his need to catch the real killer to clear his name. The main story gets the game going quickly and with force. There are slower moments, but I felt engaged with the story the entire time, mainly due to the strong world building, good pacing, and solid cast of characters. World building is one of the hallmarks of the Witcher series, and for good reason. The lore behind each location, each character, and even each enemy is deep. Unsurprising if they have a book series to draw from. Makes you think maybe some other series might make a good video game adaptation. But I have no ideas fermenting about that. Most of that lore is in the guides in the game, describing each character and story so far, and it expands as you continue to play and discover more about the world or expand even within the character one's updating based off of where you are in the story. This system prevents the game from getting bogged down with the details, while still having those details available for those interested. I think it's a good system, and the story itself takes you through enough of the world to feel comfortable understanding it. There's a lot there, but it's easily accessible and not overly complicated, which is the danger with some larger games who attempt the deep lore system. The characters, though, I'd say, because I always focus on the characters, are the most important part of establishing the player's investment in the story and world. Geralt is a gruff but caring protagonist who saves a world and people who shun him because of his background. He is an excellent character for the player to control because his versatility makes him ideal for a morally gray decision-based game. He can be stubborn and reckless, but also thoughtful and considerate, and those traits all feel natural for him, making him an excellent player character. He is backed up by a good cast of side characters such as Triss Merigold, Vernon Roach, Yorvith, Saskia, Dandelion, Zoltan, and more. The villains also enhance this tale, with the actual Kingslayer being a complex and strong antagonist, and many unexpected opponents emerging throughout the story. Then you get to the random villagers and soldiers who you help or hurt along the path. They're amusing, well acted, and relevant for more than just one line of dialogue, unlike villagers from other games. You can care about them, but not too much, because death is a constant in the game, sometimes because of your specific choices. Speaking of which, one of the most well-known aspects of the Witcher series is that your choices matter a lot. You get hit with this very early on in the game, getting a major decision that I won't spoil here, but has lasting ramifications even to The Witcher 3. The decision, though, that solidified my knowledge that the choices really matter came after Geralt's escape from jail in the prologue. I found a soldier willing to help me, but wait, he seemed familiar. Because he was. I had talked him out of going into battle with just an amulet to protect him earlier in the act, and I had forgotten about it. He hadn't, though, because my action had saved his life, and now he did what he could to repay me by helping me sneak out, minimizing bloodshed and risk of detection. It was a simple moment and choice, but the impact it had later on resonated with me in a very unfamiliar way. My gaming memories are distinct, and that moment burns in my mind as one of the more important moments towards my enjoyment of The Witcher 2. From what I've talked about so far, it kind of sounds like The Witcher is a visual novel. Well, for the most part, no. Let's get into the more active gameplay portion. Combat is done mainly through the swords Geralt wields, steel for humanoids and silver for monsters. Additionally, traps, bombs, and signs play a vital role towards dodging and hacking your way to victory. There are 5 basic signs in The Witcher 2. Ard, which releases a telekinetic blast to knock back enemies. Igni, which unsurprisingly shoots fire at enemies. Irden, a magical trap. Quen, a shield that helps absorb damage. And Axii, an ability that charms enemies sometimes into fighting for you. These abilities will be important in combat. In most cases, it's not enough to just hack and slash through enemies, unless you play on low difficulties, especially not against bosses, and a lot of enemies are tough, adding to the challenge of the games. Although the challenge mostly comes in the first part, where a punishing early game in addition to your own inexperience will probably lead to a couple deaths. At least it did for me. The last thing to talk about is the environment. For the most part, it's good. The character designs are nice, the landscape is appropriate for the sort of medieval, gritty fantasy world that is being portrayed, the music is nice, but none of those blew me away like some other games do. Perhaps it's a bit of graphic snobbishness coming out in me, but I saw little remarkable about the visuals and environment of The Witcher 2. Obviously, those looks do not cast a shadow on the gameplay and story, which are the main reason I played the game to begin with, but it prevents it from being an even more immersive experience. The Witcher 2, as my introduction to the Witcher series, is a solid game. It has unique storytelling options throughout the game, which definitely requires multiple playthroughs to explore through. It has locations with a lot to do for the completionist without being too busy for those who don't want to invest as much time. The gameplay is great, the story is solid, the characters are lively along with the setting, and while I have some issues with gameplay balancing and environments, this is a very good game. I absolutely recommend this game to anyone who's played The Witcher 3 and wants more adventures with Geralt, with of course the warning that this game is different, but still good. I also recommend it to those willing to make the tough decisions and have those decisions have real consequences in the world of the game. There are times that it is hard, but that makes the experience even better once you succeed. If all this sounds good to you, I recommend you check out The Witcher 2. And if you don't think this is quite the game for you, hey, maybe The Witcher 3 will be a better option. Look out for part 2 in the future. One of the ways you can do that is by subscribing. And if you like, share, or comment on the video, that helps others find this channel as well. I'm quite grateful for those who have come and watched my videos so far, and I hope you stick around for more. For now though, have a great day and happy gaming.